The federal government has taken decisive steps to reposition the Bank of Agriculture in an effort to enhance economic growth, promote socio-economic development and improve food security in Nigeria. The Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, emphasized the BOA's critical role in increasing agricultural production and stabilizing prices during a recent progress report meeting in Abuja. He added that this initiative aligns with the government's broader goal of making the country a key player in regional and global food production, securing a more prosperous future for the nation. But joining us in the studio is food security expert, African farmer Mogaji. Also, we have agricultural specialist Omotunde Banjoko. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
It's good to have you join us.
Good morning.
Thank you for having us.
Now, let me begin with you, African farmer. We've always talked about efforts to drive food security, production, and position in Nigeria as that country that can produce globally and even locally to feed its own. But with this move that the government is taking, is that taking us on that path?
Yeah, I believe it's taking us in the path that we should go to not only attain food security, but also sustainability and to be able to create national commonwealth. Yeah, but I think it's also taking so long.
Really?
Yes, we need this like yesterday.
But we've had the bank since the year 2000.
Yes, we've had the bank. The bank had issues. One government policy really messed things up, which was when they merged People's Bank and Bank of Agriculture,
yeah.
You know, so People's Bank that have a different mandate. Agriculture was high and is highly is a system that needs some specifics. So when they brought them in, that policy messed up the operations and is the reason why we're where we are. But it's a good development, a welcome development that, you know, the government has taken time, you know, to be able to look at a few things, because I'm aware of this conversation since last July, you know, and I know it started before then. But, you know, to know that they finalized it is good. They should give us a date.
All right, Mr. Motunde, so given that between 2014 and 2021, you know, agricultural loans from commercial banks peaked at just 1.04 billion naira in 2020. So that represents 5 trillion, yes. So 5.15% of the total loans during that period. So how do you see this BOA's recapitalization addressing the long-standing issue of inadequate financial support for especially smallholder farmers?
Not even only the smallholder farmers, even the medium and large-scale farmers. Because you look at, like you rightly mentioned, within 6 years, the highest that sector got was in 2020, where they managed to get 1.1 trillion.
1.0
trillion out of the volume that was disbursed that year. So if the highest got 1 trillion, then what did we get in that sector the previous years and after that? So that tells you most of the commercial banks don't understand agric. Agric is not a toast for them. It's not an industry they understand. They are not interested in funding. So and that's why we are where we are. You know, for a farmer to go to a commercial bank getting loan at 30% or to a microfinance getting loan at 48%, how can you survive? And that's why we are where we are today. I've had cases where we've approached bank for a project, even with a collateral, and one of the banks, I think that was 2 years ago, told us virtually all our books are to the oil and gas industry, over 10 billion in credit. So you looking for 50 million, 40 million, even with your collateral, can get a facility because yours is kind of taking longer. They don't understand the sector. So the only people that understand the sector and that can drive the needed change is Bank of Agric. But I think, like my friend African farmer mentioned, it's really long overdue. And the only thing we are praying now is that, you know, because this conversation didn't start yesterday. You look at a bank that for almost 10 years has no board of directors. That tells you the attitude of the government towards that bank. They've gone from 1972, changing names, 1978, 2010. And, you know, you look at their last recapitalization in 2013, where they tried to raise 50 billion. Out of the 50 billion, they got 30 billion. So, so you can see
the struggle.
The struggle. I've had meetings with the MD and a couple of times, and you could see that they are struggling as a bank, even to meet their internal obligations, salaries, wages, and all that because of their allocation. So I think what I'm more excited about is this conversation will not be like the previous conversation, that they will see this through. Because until we see this through, we might still be struggling with food security.
Interesting. I am wondering what you mean by see it through. If you could just expatiate on that before
See through
I move
means it won't be like the previous conversation.
Okay.
Now we'll get to real recapitalization and restructuring of the bank, because the two has to happen.
Okay.
One, you have to inject enough fund, because as of today, if you want to get ₦1 million from BOA without collateral, anything from 10 million and above, you have to collateralize it, and not with a movable asset. It has to be with a house, a land in choice location. So I want to take 10.1 million from you. I have to bring my house to get that loan. And a lot of their processes are still paper-based, not digitalized in 21st century, where we want youth to be involved in agriculture. And so that's what I mean by they have to see it through. Okay. Not that, because even Oshibajo tried doing it. During that time, they brought under BPE then. But now they are saying, okay, there's National Council on Privatization. So now, under this new council, we are open. We have an idea of the, I was told some numbers they are trying to raise. I hope they'll be able to raise that kind of an amount.
What amount is it?
No.
It's too large for this setting.
No.
Okay, we understand.
They are not confirmed,
okay, it's not confirmed.
So,
okay. Let me come to you now, African Farmer. The question I really wanted to ask is, because you mentioned 30% on top when you want to get loans from banks and all of that. And we've often talked about how this matter of credit, double digits, is not really helping farmers. And so the question is, where does this leave the matter of the anchor borrower scheme? And then we have known that even this Bank of Agriculture had struggled with persons trying to pay back these loans. And here we are knowing that the business of agriculture is capital intensive.
That's right.
Are we sure we are going to move away from that? And are they looking at building a structure that ensures that farmers are able to repay as quickly as possible? Because that is what will make the bank sustainable.
So first thing first, we need to know why the farmers are not paying back. That's very important, because it's single digits. Number one is that they almost always get the funds when they will not be able to utilize it. Okay. They may apply in March and be getting it in August. So, yes, yes, that's the truth. Because there's still, a lot of things are still centralized, okay? Sometimes it comes out faster, okay? But
sorry to button, how do you mean centralized? Because BOA has its own branches, in 199 senatorial districts.
There's a lot of approvals at the head office.
Those are the bottlenecks.
Yes. It should be regionalized. A lot of approvals need to happen at regional level, not Abuja approving and all those things. Then, so the timing. Now, another reason why the farmers don't pay back is because currently, we mostly, or over the years, we mostly apply a region's production time to the whole country. So let's take, for instance, the rainfall in the north comes later than the south.
That's right.
Okay, so if you now use northern rain calendar to flag off disbursement, already is a failure for the south.
For the south.
And vice versa. So all these things need to be broken down to regions. When does this region start their production? Okay, when will they need harvesting? Then also, at even small and medium scale, because things have changed. The bank is old, but new things have come up. So take, for instance, if you get a loan, if you get like a 5 million naira loan now, if you sink a borehole, today, the cost of that borehole you pay in 1 year. Meanwhile, this is a borehole of 5 years. These are all costs. The operations, it's not also helping. If we're focused on the youths to develop agriculture, we need the funding to increase. 250,000 for youths and women. 250,000 does not buy fertilizer to cultivate corn on 2.5 acres. So all those funds need to move up. The timing of the funds, very important. Understanding the production cycle, and also, there's a lot of talk around small and medium. There's a lot of talk about it, but in operations, I used to own an account with them, and I ran it for many years. But it's a lot of headache. You have to bring a paper into the banking hall. It's kind of archaic. So it's meant for the rural. Okay, right. And even the rural is stressing them. But even the rural youth today does not even want to go to the bank. So recapitalizing is one. The operations is another. It's the operations that need to change. Right. And also the board. The board now needs to be experienced people. If they bring commercial, which is what has been happening, they bring people with commercial to head a developmental bank. They don't know it. They've not done it. In theory, they know it. In practice, they've not. They've not lost money before. So we need the right people on the board. If this administration will get it right, you need a lot of people with exposure, experience, and passion for the sector. Exposure, experience, and passion for the sector, not just business, not economics. The first 2 years of this recapitalization needs to be that exposure, experience, and passion for the sector.
Interesting stuff. So let me come to you. So beyond disbursing funds or loans to the farmers, it's one thing, just like he said, the mistake is they get the money, they seem to get the money at the time they didn't even need it most, but they applied when they needed it. So talk to us about how should they go about the application for this loan and the approval of this loan. That's one. And the second thing is, when you get this loan, there is another way, the challenge is for you to now utilize it effectively. So that comes to training and capacity building. So how should they come about these two things?
Okay, so the first one, they have to go digital. Now you can get funds.
You mean the BOA?
The BOA has to go digital. It's part of what the MD told me some months back. You have to go digital. If you go digital, then youth can be interested in it. Like African man rightly said, filling papers. I used to have an account with them too. You have to fill your voucher, take it to the bank physically and all that. So now you have to, most of us do transactions on our phone. Without going, at times a month, you probably are not in any banking hall and your business is going on fine. You can call, you can do a lot online. So they will also have to go digital. Though they can't scrap the physical branches because of the local content, the rural development, because it's part of, part of what they are supposed to do is microcredit to the local areas, to businesses, not just the agriculture, that to do microcredit, then sponsor value chain, do capacity building. That's the other part you mentioned. So if you are giving me fund, you also have to do capacity building for people, for farmers. Don't just assume people know. We have experts, technocrats, not just, we call some people Google farmers, people who just say things. But
or YouTube farmers.
Yes, but you can go to his farm, you can come to my farm.
That's right.
We are not just talking, we are saying things we have experienced.
You're putting it into practice,
With experience. So they can get practitioners to train people. The truth of the matter is a lot of young folks want to even do agriculture.
That's right.
But they've not seen enough motivation. The process is not encouraging. They are not seeing too much of digital operations in that space. So if Bank of Agric is going to get it right, they have to move their funds digital. You should be able to disburse 10 million just doing verification. What do we have some, I'm on a project with consulting for a company now. What do you just do? You can geomap a farm location.
That's right.
You look at it on your phone, confirm, do a bit of physical confirmation if need be. And then you can disburse 10 million, 5 million. I'm not saying disburse 100 million on phone, 5 million, 10 million. And then you can start there. So that's one thing they have to do. Paperwork. And you get to the branches, most times you just laugh. I don't know, I think last time I went to their branch was maybe 5-6 years ago, you just burst into laughter.
Why?
In a bank, you see it everywhere messed up. The one is in my hometown, so I won't mention it. So you just see the
No, the idea of it is not so degrade your, what's it called, to paint it in bad light. But it's for you to call the attention of the government.
No, it's just, no, but they know. They know that even the staffs are not well motivated. So you see the staffs wearing, it's just a disorganized environment. And they have to, everything, I think, one of their regional director who just resigned, I was talking to her, and then she asked me to probably go back and get some information. By the time I got there, I just posted it. I think I left. Because you just say everything. I couldn't get an information from my account, so I wanted to just say everywhere. They can't even find anything because everything is paper-based. Right. So we have to go digital. That's right. Though, while going digital, we still have to restructure the banking operation so that those in the local environment who are not too tech-savvy can still walk into the bank and have confidence in your operations.
So let me stay with you, because you mentioned the matter of they ensuring that whoever is getting these loans are persons with real farmers. You have a farm, he has a farm as well. Yeah. We know what happened with the anchor borrower scheme, where there are third parties and all of that, and then there was corruption. Transparency was also diversion. And are you sure that it will be possible to eliminate all of this?
I won't use
with the whole processes you mentioned.
I won't say eliminate, but it can be reduced. That's why I said don't disburse 100 million. You see, the guys that diversify the funds don't need your 2 million. They don't need your 3 million. They want to say, okay, how much does the bank have? 500 billion. Can you divert 10 billion? They'll just cook up a project somewhere in a location. I don't mention any state. Just cook up a project, you understand? And you just see 10 billion, 18 billion. They are not interested in 1 million, 10 million. No. Those guys, what do they want to do with 10 million? It's too small to spend in a day. Then it has to start from B. 2 billion, 3 billion, maybe in 4 or 5 tranches every week. So those are the guys that really cause the destruction.
So how can they reduce that?
So the truth of the matter is they know them.
They do?
A young boy, I'm sure we can't even walk to the bank and say, give us 2 billion. They won't. Even if you have the project to do with 2 billion, 3 billion, they will, of course, give you reasons why you can't get 2 billion, why you can't get 3 billion.
Others get it, yeah.
But others who are, it's corruption is not just, it's a syndicate. Corruption, one person cannot divert fund because it will move from an account to an account. So definitely there has to be a lot of transparency. That's why I mentioned earlier on, a bank running without a board for over 10 years is a mess already.
African farmer, let me quickly ask you this question because of our time. Now look at what is happening on a global stage. For instance, Trump signing executive order, withdrawing from these and all of that affecting climate. I'm wondering what impact this will have on our own agricultural produce and value chain, especially those that are exporting, looking at the kind of tariff and all of that, and what we can do in the committee of the Global South, talk about the BRICS of this world. What do you think we can, how do you think this should motivate them to ensure that not just with capitalization of the BOA, but let's look at the global challenge and solve our own local content needs?
Fortunately, I'm trained in U.S. foreign policy and food security. And so what the President Donald Trump is doing is still putting America first. Yeah. That putting America first helps Africa and Nigeria to put themselves first.
That's right.
So it helps them to look inward. So a lot of people look at the negative. I look at the positive. Okay, Europe needs Africa more than Africa needs Europe.
That's right.
Europe needs Nigeria more than Nigeria needs Europe. So if we begin to look inward, don't forget Brexit has already separated. Russia-Ukraine war. Europe is trying to move away from dependence on Russia. Their agriculture is dependent on Russia. Their fertilizer is dependent on Russia. So if we begin to look inward now to say, these are all gaps that we can fill, then how? We need to go to our colleges of agriculture. And BOA needs to set aside like 70% of this recapitalization funds to SMEs and below. Because it's the big names that get the funding before. Now let the SMEs, let the youth students who go into state colleges of agriculture and federal colleges of agriculture know that before we finish, we can apply for a 5 million loan and get it within 2-3 weeks. They need to have mandates to say that, okay, every loan processed must be disbursed within 3 weeks. Those policies will help. But on a global scale, Nigeria is about to witness an unusual commonwealth if we don't see all the things happening negative and we focus on the positive. We need to work on the skill set, the mindset, and the tool set.
Right.
Skill set is knowledge, capacity development.
Mindset.
The tool set we need are the type of equipment, small cottage equipment. And mindset is that we need to focus on the youths and not how we want the youth
Is it
to
just
come.
the youth, or what about the women? Because the women and the youth are also.
So you see, there's a foreign narrative about women. Okay, women have a place, especially in value addition.
Okay.
Enough of you want to do a program 70% women. Men are the ones that should do 70%, and the 30%, which is sustainability. We need the women to stay in that value chain because they are tenacious. Everything they do, they finish well. So without that value addition, every other thing is going
So if they finish well, why give them? Why give men 70%?
Ask this question to you, Banjoka, please. The matter of climate change is something we do not talk about often when we're looking at agriculture.
Okay.
And we need to look at how the Bank of Agriculture needs to address that. It's critical.
It's part of what they have to look at. Default. Some are scammers, please, some are scammers, but most farmers are not scammers. It's because when issues goes wrong, but if I have a little more time to figure myself out, I can probably, if the first season of the year didn't go well, probably the second or the third will do well. But if it's a short time loan, so they can play in that.
Yeah, so you talked about this restructuring, but then sometime in 2024, like I said, about 10 months ago, the National Council on Privatization looked at, considered merging Bank of Agriculture and that of the Central Bank's Nigeria's NESL, which is known as Nigerian Incentive-Based Risk Sharing System for Agricultural Lending, so the Microfinance Limited. So is there a risk of overlap or redundancy in roles?
Really, they should collapse the CBN program into BOA. They are not doing anything that BOA is not doing. They just created a very bogus system. They're replicating BOA. And anyway, they don't even have the expertise.
So BOA cannot differentiate its own services?
Yeah, they're doing the same. There's nothing like risk-based. In reality, in the field, there's nothing.
It's just English.
It's English, just semantics. They are doing the work of BOA. And they say it's risk-based. What's the risk? They want to change a system overnight that the people promoting, the people operating, they don't know field. There are a few younger colleagues and senior colleagues who are putting on time.
Okay, quickly because of our time. As much as government is looking in this direction, one other key issue is the aspect of security. How do we deal with that?
See, security is getting better and has gotten really better. It's not like before.
This is not a political statement.
It's not a political statement. I'm in the field.
We are still hearing, issues around these matters.
Do you know how many years they've been, many people in Shekbeteri, in Aguare, in Oyo State, it's over 15 years before it came to limelight. Okay, so what I'm saying is that it's getting better. But what we know...
For the farmers, is it?
It's getting better. It's just that what we keep talking about is the past. And unfortunately, I don't know what the government is doing to showcase what is happening now. They are allowing the old narrative to take over. Now,
is it really old?
No, it's not over. What I'm saying, it's not over. It's real, but it has significantly dropped. So people need to be motivated. They need to get the information out. Government currently is not doing that. Right. And unfortunately, this not being proactive leveraging on media is going to affect tomatoes this year. Last year, I said it was 80 to 120, it became 150. This year is going to be 200 to 300,000 if we don't do anything. The Minister of Agriculture is on it now, but I say this fear of insecurity and climate change. But everything we need to do is available. We just need the right people to understand it.
Amotunde Banjoko, agricultural specialist, as well as food security expert, African Farmer Mortgagee. Gentlemen, thank you for your time on the panel.
Thank you for having
me. And happy food year, as you wished us.
So it's a food year.
Food year. Interesting. All right, we'll take a